So we're starting section 1.2. You'll need your calculator handy for those of you watching the video. We'll use the screen there to pull down and use the calculator. So just 1.2 just on, it says visualizing and graphing data. Yeah, I mean, that's part of it, but we're gonna basically, look at using our calculator to interpret it, or get information from it. And then a refresher on your distance formula and your midpoint. If you've forgotten those, we'll remind you. All right. So when we look at this, median and mean. What's median?
Middle.
The middle number. How's the easy way to remember that?
I think of like the road into Sweden, like that.
Yeah, even on the interstate, the median is in between, right? And then the mean is the what?
Average.
Average. Well, so here's the thing. If I just give you some random data, so we'll call this example 1. So let's just say we're given this data, whatever it stands for. Let's just say we got -5, 7, 11, -8, 14, 0, 2. All right. So the question is going to be find the max, the min, the mean, and the median. Now, and it may even say put it on a scatter plot. Well, I think it's helpful if you just go ahead and put it in increasing order. So take a second and just sort. So the first thing I would do is sort in increasing order. And then from there, I can at least get the max and min out of the way. All right. So you tell me what to write. We'll write it in increasing order, and then we're going to input this data on the calculator. I can show you what it will do. So what's the first number we would write?
-8.
-8, then
-5.
then
0.
yeah.
2.
Okay.
7. 11 and 14.
All right, very good. And also, you should be able to get the median, right? Because if you can see, there's 3 numbers here to the left of 2, 3 numbers to the right of 2, so our middle number would be 2. So what you need to do is kind of record these numbers for me, because I'm going to pull this screen down real quick and put the calculator on the screen. So just make sure you have these numbers written down, and then that way we can. So you'll just have to bring them back, get them back to me here. Hopefully we can see most of this. Okay. All right. So. It's showing up okay on the video. Good. So you can now see I brought up I have a TI-84 that I brought up. It may be hard to see some of the buttons, but I'll try to talk loudly. You can hear what I'm pressing. I'll even use the cursor to show you what I'm pressing. So the first thing I'm going to do is you'll see there's a button on here that goes to stat, and I'm going to go in there. I'll have to play around with it. Maybe it's under a list, but I'm going to go and enter that data in a list. And once I enter that data in a list, the calculator will go and make those computations for me. So kind of follow the cursor as I move it around on the screen, and that way I can show you where I'm pressing. So the first place I'm going to go is stat. All right, so I clicked on stat, and now that I have an edit, I'm going to click on edit. All right, and now it has these lists, L1, L2, L3. So everybody here, do you guys have that on your calculator? So then in L1, I'm gonna put the data. You don't have to put it in order, the way we had it, but it's fine. So what did we have? We had -8. I'm gonna type the data in to list 1. What was it next? -5, 0. What was next? 2. After that, 7, 11, and 14. Okay. All right, there's that. So you put your data in the list, okay? All right. The next thing I'm gonna do is I wanna be able to make a calculation from that data. So I'm gonna just quit from here, go to my home screen, so second mode. And now I'm gonna click, so you can follow my cursor, I'm gonna click Stat, and now I'm gonna click over to Calculate. And I want one variable stat, so it's gonna give me the statistics on that information I just put in. Hit Enter, and it doesn't have to be in order. It's asking me a question. Was your list in L1? Yes. If it wasn't in L1, you need to change it and say whatever L you put it in, but mine was in L1. Okay, you have the L's down here. You can select which L you put it in. All right, I'm gonna hit Enter. The frequency list, don't worry about that. Just click on Calculate. So once I click on Calculate, that X bar is your mean. So that first thing that it gives you is your mean, okay? If I go down, I can see it has the minimum. It has the median, which is 2. And it gives the maximum, which was 14, which you already could see the min and the max. But I just want to show you that your calculator can do this for you, okay? All right. You guys have any questions about that? Yes?
Could you change the large screen to 18 press history? To the middle, the off. Thank you.
Well, it's on film too, though.
Oh.
Yeah, you can do that. Okay. So while we have that there, I'm going to do a scatter plot next. Okay. I don't even know where it was. I don't even know how you follow this.
I apologize.
It just goes by button to what you're doing. Like
Where?
stat. If you start at the top left, that's what you hit. And then enters when you hit edit. And then there's your -8, there's your -5, yeah.
Yeah, just go to stat list. You can just add. You can also ask somebody too, right?
Yeah,
Or we'll just go back to it. Like I would rather just do that. That just seems confusing too. All right. So now what I want to show you is how do we do it for 2 variables. So I'm going to make up some data here. I know it's going to be tough on the video. But is everybody good with how I type that in? We're going to do something. We're going to almost go through the same process again, so it's fine. So for you guys, so let's do another data. I'm trying to find somewhere to write where they can actually kind of see. You can see here, so they can see this. So here's what we're going to do. Most of your tables will be horizontal, but I'm just going to make this vertical so it'll fit here. So we're going to do year, and we're going to do customers. All right, so year and customers. This will go in L1 and that'll go in L2. So always put your X, whatever your X technically is, goes in list 1 and put the other one in list 2. So now, here's what we're going to do. We've got the year, and I'll tell you what this is going to stand for. 1995, 2000, 2005, 2010, 2015. So those are all going to go in. And then the other thing we're going to do is we are going to put in our values here, 32, 109, 206, 300, 389. And this is, so just to give you this, this is the year, of course you got that. This is the cell phone subscribers in millions. So it's not 32 subscribers, it's 32. In 1995, there was 32 million people who had a cell phone. So does it make sense though that as time has increased that we've had more and more cell phone subscribers? Sure, all right? So here's what we're gonna do. Now we can do some things with this. So I'm gonna show you, this is now 2 variable data, okay? And what can we find here? We could still get an average if we wanted that average there. But I'm gonna show you how to put this in and make what's called a scatter plot, and then we're gonna find a line of best fit. We're gonna almost do the same process that we just did. So save this data here. I gotta pull the screen down so it looks, so hopefully you guys have written this down. So I'll read it one more time. The years go 1995, 2000, 2005, 2010, 2015. So those 5, and 32, 109, 206, 300, and 389 across from each of those years. Okay, so does at least one person in here have it? Okay, all right. We can always share. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna look to get a scatter plot and and just get an idea of what this is gonna look like. Okay, so wish I could just make just the calculator itself bigger. Is there no way to do that, guys? Y'all know?
There probably is, but I do not know.
Can't you make the thing a full screen?
What do you mean? This right here?
No, the up there.
Where?
If you make it cover the whole screen like
Yeah, well, I don't wanna, it will go out of the camera doesn't pick up on all that. That's the problem, see? But I just wanted, it's okay, we've got this. Okay, so I'm gonna go, so if I need to do a button again, tell me, okay? So guys, just if I lose you on a button, just holler at me. This is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go to stat, I'm gonna go to edit again, and now I'm gonna put that data in list 1 and list 2. All right, but now notice list 1 has all that stuff in it. I don't want that, so I'm gonna go up and hit clear. Come back down, now list 1 is cleared. Okay? I'll keep that there if you want that. Okay, now I'm gonna type in our year. So what did we have? 1995, so type that data into list 1. 2000, 2005, 2010, 2015. I think 2015 was the last one, right?
Yes, sir.
There's that, okay. And then I just press over, and now I'll type in you're gonna have to refresh me on these numbers, I forgot.
32.
32.
109.
Hang on, it's froze on me. Great. Oh, come on, don't do this right. I'm gonna have to just exit. It's frozen.
That's okay.
Yeah, well, I need to film this for those guys at home. Yeah, it just. All right, I'll just write it on the board what to do. Oh, goodness. I might it's gonna take forever. I hate technology sometimes. Okay.
Do you want my calculator and you can take it up there?
I know what to press. Like what she was saying, it's easier if you can see it. So you hit, so we're gonna do stat, edit, and you're gonna go into your list. And so you'll see list 1, You'll see list 2. You're gonna put this information in. Okay, you shouldn't type it all in. All right, so we're gonna type these in. $32, $109, $206, $300, and $389. So one thing we like to do is just make a plot of all of our data to get an idea. All right. So I've stored all of this in L1 and L2. So I've just typed it in right there. So now the next thing I want you to do, so we've gone here, we've done that. So we've hit stat, we've done our edit, and we've gone in. Now you go to y equals. Press your y equals. As you go into y equals, if you look up, there should be a stat plot. Do you see a stat plot button or stat plot? Do you see a stat plot? Does it say stat plot?
This is plot 1, plot 2, plot 3.
Second y equals stat plot. You can go into plot 1, that's fine. So if you hit second y equals, you're in a stat plot now, right? And then when you're in a stat plot, you should be in like plot 1, right? So now when you're in plot 1, it's gonna ask you some questions. So when you go into plot 1, you're in a stat plot there, you're gonna make sure that you show the list. So what are the questions it's asking? Like what list is it? It says X list, right? Make sure that's L1. Y list, make sure that's L2. Okay? What's the
Ours
matter?
says on, off, then it says type, X list, Y list, and mark.
X list L1,
So we just go down.
Y list L2. Okay? You should have that in your stat plot. Yes or no? Okay? And that's it. And then and then you want to make sure your plot is on. Yeah, anything else I'm missing that's on there. Then it should give you a diagram of what you want the plot to be. You're just going to pick the scatter. So you should have a picture that's like this and it has a bunch of dots on it. That's the one you want. And it's going to say what kind of dot do you want us to make. Just pick whatever you want, like a little dot. Like this has got 3 choices. Okay? Now, before you do anything, before we actually graph it, let's pick a window that we think is smart. Okay? So is any question right now on this? Does everybody have this picture? You have this on your screen. Okay? So you did X list is L1, Y list is L2, your plot 1 is on. You pick a scatter plot. So it's just going to basically plot these points for us. Okay? So before we do that, we need to go into the window and set it up ourselves. So I got to see what button to push here. Just hit window. Yeah, window. That's what we want. Okay. So now, before we graph, so now let's pick a window, a viewing window that we think is going to be good to show this data in. So we're going to pick a window. So remember, these are our X values, these are our Y values. So what do you think would be a good range of X's to use in our window for the X's? So it's going to say X min, X max. What do you guys think would be a good, because these are where our points are going to go. So what might be a good boundary for your X's? What did you say? Yeah, you could do 1990. I was just going to do 1900, but 1990 is fine. Just something below your lowest number. And then what might be a good, so if you take that, I thought what might be a good max then? 2020. So you're going to pick numbers that will contain everything. And then it's going to say an X scale. Well, the scale is how much you want to increment by. Well, it looks like that's like 30 years there, so we could increment by 5s or 10s, doesn't matter. Just how many tick marks it's going to be. I would just do maybe by 5. Every 5 years put a tick mark, because that's what our data is on anyways. And then you've got Y min, Y max, and Y scale. So what do you think would be a good Y min for this? I would do 0. And then to 400, and I would probably increment by 100, so that I'm not, so that means every 100 units it'll put a mark, every mark. So then, that's it. Once you do that, hit graph. And now your dots should show up in your graph. So once you hit graph, you'll have your marks here, and you'll have your data kind of like this. Okay. Is your picture? No? Is your windows wrong? Your plug is not on. You gotta turn the plug on. On.
Thank you.
Now hit graph. All right, do we got it? Okay. All right. And then now that gives you an idea there of what, how you could make a scatter plot and look at it. Okay? Any questions about that? You got all the typing that you can do there. So does it look like it has a linear trend? Kind of. What would you guys say? Does it look like a line or not? Yeah. Okay. So couple other things real quick. Domain and range. So while we're on this, if we want to list what the domain is, your domain is all the X values or your inputs. So your domain are all of your X values. So I'm going to erase some of this information here. We got a lot going on. We've already got this over here. So for this problem that we just did, if we do domain, it would just be the X's that we listed. So you would just put 1995, 2000, 2005, I'm running out of room, 2010, 2015. That's your domain. And you put it in those braces. So you'll see the braces pop up, okay? And your range are all the Y's, all the outputs. So your Y's, your outputs. So you would just list your range. Okay? 32, 109, 206, 300, 389. Okay. All right, so can we do a scatter plot on here, and then can we also just list out? So you basically just put in each of those lists there. Everybody good with that? Any questions? Okay. All right, I'm going to do domain and range one other way. So let's look at this example. Okay. So another example here. Let's say I just give you this. Okay, so here we go. I've given you just the points. In the points, you can see what the X's and Y's are. Can you list the domain and can you list the range? So make a set and just put all the X's. Typically, we put them in increasing order. So can you write out what the domain is and what the range is? And typically put them in increase, like don't just write them in there, put them in increasing order. Okay, so what did you guys get for the domain? Right, Maria, tell us the domain. Yeah. Yep. All right. Leah, what'd you get for the range?
Me?
Yep.
7, 8, 11.
There you go. That's it. I figured it's easy stuff for you guys. So let's just do a quick refresher on distance and midpoint formula. You might have forgotten those. Okay, so we'll put those formulas on the board and show you how we calculate with that. I'm going to erase so I can clean this up. So I'm going to erase this. I'm going to erase that. Okay. All right. So distance and midpoint. So let's say we've got 2 points, so it doesn't matter. We'll call this example first. Given, let's say you got the point -2, 5, and 4, -3. So you got 2 points there. And so we want to find the distance between the points and a middle point. So a middle point midway between those two. So we want to find the midpoint. So there's a formula for each of these that you would have done in your integrated math. So I'm just going to give you a refresher. All right. So let's see. What is the distance formula? And we'll call this point x1, y1, and this is a point x2, y2. So what's the distance formula?
Isn't it x2 minus x1? Or no, y2 over y.
It's the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. That's your distance formula. Now we'll calculate the distance between 2 points. All right, and then your midpoint formula.
I was thinking.
What's your midpoint formula? Who remembers? You add the two values up and divide by 2. So x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. That will tell you the midway point between the 2 points. So use these two formulas, use these 2 points that I've given you, see if you can get your distance and your midpoint, and we'll check your work here in a second. You can use your calculator. Here, you don't need your calculator. You don't need it for this one. At least I don't think so.
I don't need it.
All right, it's just plug and crank. So let's see. So who can tell me what to write right here? So what goes in place of x2?
4.
4 minus what's x1?
-2.
All right, and then we're going to square that number in just a second. Plus y2 is -3 minus y1 is 5 squared. So this becomes what number in the parentheses?
+2.
How about a 6?
6.
Yeah,
sorry.
and then you're gonna square it, and you're gonna get what?
36.
36. This number becomes what in the parentheses? And you're gonna square it, you're gonna get what?
64.
Which is the square root of a 100. You can use your calculator, but you get 10. So it's 10 units between the 2 points. That's using the distance formula. All right, any questions on how we did that there? So it's just plug and crank, right? You just gotta identify your points. Now, let's say Paige decides she wants to use this as her first point and that as the second point. Do you think it will change the distance? No, because even if you reverse it, you're still squaring, which comes out positive. It won't change it. Okay, midpoint. So we find midway between these 2 points. So let's see. So I'm gonna add the x's, so -2 plus 4 divided by 2. I'm gonna add the y's, 5 and -3 divided by 2. I wasn't trying to be this creative and get this to happen, but what's the answer we get for the x there?
1.
1, 2 over 2 plus 1. What's the answer for the y? Are you really using a calculator right now? Yeah. Just do it in your head though. Mental food. There's your midpoint. Okay? All right. So that's a refresher on distance and midpoint. Okay? So this is kind of 1.2 there. And you have, I think, 15 problems in my math lab. It's a pretty short assignment. And then we can look at for you guys here, we'll look at the calculator a little bit more. Let me go ahead and stop this. So that's it for 1.2.